3. Hello and welcome to bonus footage of The Seventh Rule with your stars, Aron Eisenberg and Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
The green phone icon is Cirroc Lofton. Take our word for it, it is him. I'm Ryan Tikas, and that is Jared Cooper over there as well.
Hello.
So we want to talk about Star Trek Discovery, Episode 4 of Season 2, just a little bit more than what we did already on our show. So we're going to do a little thing we call One Thing We Loved and One Thing We Hated.
Hated? Such a strong word.
You guys want to start with hate first? I think we got to start with hate first.
Yeah, so we end positively, right? We want to end positively.
Exactly. Jared, let's start with you. What did you hate about Episode 4, Season 2?
What did I hate about Episode 4, Season 2?
That's a good question.
I could say the part between the credits, the part between the opening credits and the closing credits, I really didn't care for any of that.
Be specific. What happened? What happened?
This I've got the same feedback for this week that I had for last week, that it felt like they just took a whole bunch of plots and threw it together. That there's some exposition that they had to get through. And they told us a whole bunch of stuff, but nothing really happened. It's just like a step. And I'm hoping we'll get there next week, but that's it.
Okay.
So
all right.
What about you, Cirroc?
I hated all the Klingon talking.
They
weren't in this one.
Yeah, that was previous week.
Oh, well, just a shout out to all the hate that I have for the Klingon talk.
Reminder.
But I don't know. I'm kind of with Jared on this one. I'm not really liking a lot of the things that I saw.
Okay.
A lot of the themes were borrowed, and I'm not happy with any of the Spock stuff. I'm not happy with a lot of the storylines, and I really didn't like the blob that consumed Chili. I thought that was kind of ridiculous.
So, is it just one thing, or is it like 20 that Cirroc just went off on? Just curious.
That was kind of a soup. It was a soup of things.
That was a bundle of hate.
Well,
that's what I didn't like.
Yeah.
It feels too rushed, Cirroc, because it's almost like in the old school Star Trek, what we got in this episode would have been 3 or 4 episodes rather than getting it all in one. So it just felt
that goes to my point exactly, which is It feels like they're trying to introduce so many new things, and they're leaving a lot of stories on this cliffhanger, like you don't know what's going on in so many different areas, and they're opening up more cliffhangers instead of explaining the ones that they already opened.
I do actually agree with you and Jared. I do feel like they're there. I feel like they're trying really hard to give the fans a one problem episode, a one story episode, and at the same time adhere to a continuing story that moves on week after week, and they're trying to tell too many things at one time. I think they're doing it well, but I think it is a little bit too much, and I do kind of share that. That's not my biggest gripe from this week's episode, but I actually agree with both of you on that. I feel like it would be better if one of those stories was part of the adventure of the week, you know, the monster of the week, the conflict of the week, if they want to continue to do that. But I also feel like, in a sense, when they do that, they don't get to have the philosophical debate or moral or ethical problem to deal with that asks the questions that I used to really love about the original series that they did do in the second episode of this season. They didn't really, they glossed over it in the sense with the title of the show, as well as the, wow, we got all this information from this, and touching upon Saru's empathy to find the solution to this entity that's about to die. I would have liked a better debate about that, and they could have removed one of the other storylines to make room for that, I think. But
okay, well, here's my example. Chili's character, she gets the last episode of last season. She gets that fungi that drops on her, right?
Right.
Is that her? That's her character. Am I correct?
Yep.
Nothing like a fun guy dropping on you.
Yeah.
And then she gets hit with like a dark matter energy burst, right?
Right.
And then she gets a fungus like consuming thing attached to her arm, right?
Okay.
And I'm thinking you're just adding more things to something to tell. You could tell the same story by just. It could have been just the first thing. It didn't have to be combined with dark matter, and then it also needs this other thing. Plus, it's just gonna keep getting worse. Next thing you know, a lion comes out of the thing and bites the arm that's infected. It's like, how much more do you need to add to that story before you get to telling a different story, which is, this ghost and all this other stuff, which is I kind of not really following too much.
Well, yeah, they are drawing it out a little too long, I think, and I kind of agree with that as well. The other thing I have a problem with the Tilly storyline in this last episode was why did this this entity, whatever it is, turn almost sinister and evil when the previous episode it was almost instrumental in helping Tilly solve a conflict. So why did it switch? Why did it have a positive? I got to talk to Stamets.
Yep.
And they could have really taken one episode, or even.
So instead of giving me closure or more explanation on one subject, they open a whole nother door. Mm-hmm. And it's like, wait a minute, you just opened the door here, and I'm thinking, okay, we're going somewhere. Instead, another door opens. And we're going over here now all of a sudden, and that's where they're losing me on, like, what is this about? Is this, this is,
Yeah, I hear you.
Because it's like, and now it's like the mystery of Spock running away and this and that and what he's trying to say, and he had visions and when he was a kid, and it's like all this more doors and more mystery opening up when I thought they began in a different place of like newness of exploration, and now I'm getting reoccurring themes and stuff. I prefer the newness and like the brand new adventures. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Well, the first season to me kind of felt more like that. It was. That's
what I'm saying. That's what it was in the first season, and now it's gone back to this other place where they're like exploring. I don't know, the Spock stuff and this other stuff is taking it different places.
Well, I think they're trying to
even the Klingon stuff is developing really slowly. In the pilot, the Klingon stuff was like the main topic of the episode. It was all about what's this Klingon thing doing here? Something's happening, and then all of a sudden it's like we're second season is like it just barely moved an inch. It didn't really go that far. I don't know. You tell me.
I'll tell you, Sizzle Chest.
Sizzle Chest, that's an old reference.
Yeah, Jerky Boys.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to appease the criticism that they probably had from the first season, where it's not Trek, where it's not telling a story. The adventure of each encounter, if you will. And I think they're trying to appease that crowd while at the same time have an ongoing story at this. And I think they have too many.
And I want to make sure that my criticism doesn't belie the quality of what I think the actors themselves are doing. I want to make sure I separate the two. I'm not criticizing the performances they're giving. I think that these actors are really talented. They're just doing whatever the story says. I'm actually criticizing the story. And
right.
the actors I think are doing a great job. I like the way Doug Jones is doing his thing. I like Anthony Rapp. I like the Michael's character. I like all the actors. I think they're phenomenally good at portraying their roles. I don't want to make confuse the two. I'm not being critical of that.
Right.
What I am saying is some of the stories that the writers are choosing to highlight or the references that they're making are literally just to appease the fans or to keep a kind of consistency throughout all of it. But in reaching to touch those notes, they're losing the originality of something new that they have a chance to produce. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
I agree with you 110% on that.
All right, calm down, Jared. Calm down. Settle down.
And
I've never seen you so excited.
That's why I think our show, Aaron. That's why I think Deep Space Nine was so good, because it took chances to be original, and it wasn't worried about trying to check off all the boxes. It actually tried to piss people off in the beginning.
True, but
and we caught a lot of criticism for not being like that. But in hindsight, it's what made it stand out and not be like trying to make jokes or be, a popular culture show, more so as like a Star Trek show that has a timeless element about it.
But remember, Paramount, the bosses left DS9 alone. They turned their attention. They turned their Sauron gaze over to Voyager. And that to me is where the criticism really should lie. And once again, just like I just wanted to make a disclaimer about what I saw with the actors and their performances, which I think is remarkable all across the board. I don't think there's an actor there that I look at and say, man, I'm not buying it. I buy all of them. What I am criticizing probably ultimately is not even the writers, because the writers are still at mercy of the executives who make the big decisions, and they're the ones that have to alter and please these executives. So ultimately, it is the micromanagement of the executives, which Aaron was talking about. They left our show alone. And that's what made it have the chance to grow and be original and not suffer the over criticism of trying to produce a cookie cutter type product. Yeah. You know what I mean? So therein lies. Yeah. Oh no, go ahead. Therein lies
the chance that I think they're missing out on, which is they have the best film quality, they have the best visual quality, they have literally amazing advertisement, they have a big thing behind them, and instead of boldly going to a new place, they're trying to check all these boxes of, let's make sure it's diverse in this way. Let's make sure it's this in this way. Make sure it's politically correct over here. Let's make it this like this. And I think instead of trying to please everybody, what made our show different was it was like we were trying to challenge people to think differently instead of just be, so predictably correct about, what it's going to be.
Right. And Ryan, what did you think? What did you dislike?
What did I hate? Well, first of all, I totally agree with that Deep Space Nine was being bold and being brave and challenging themselves, and in complete contrast to what Discovery is doing, which is no two ways about it. They're pandering. They're pandering to the audience. They're trying to please the executives. They're trying to please the fans. They're trying to please the non-fans.
Yeah.
Put in action, Beastie Boys, not exactly, but, it's, whatever it was, David Bowie. They're putting
those are very different, Ryan.
Yeah, no, but I just mean like they're pandering. They're just trying to make everybody happy, and bottom line is they're trying too hard.
Yeah,
which is the opposite of what Deep Space Nine did. But what I hated is in episode 4 specifically, because I thought it was a great episode. In episode 4 specifically, I didn't like the little things. I didn't like that they don't trust the intelligence of the Star Trek viewer. For example, it's like these little things like Dr. Pollard. We get to see a little bit more of her, which is great. But what does she do? She comes in and she says, oh, that amount of pain would render a normal person unconscious. And then rather than giving him a pain, sedative or something to help the guy, they just start talking to him like he's a science experiment. Then she says, oh, what are those things? Or what do I do with those in reference to his ganglia? You're telling me she's been a doctor for a year on a ship and she doesn't understand the biology of the first officer?
Yeah.
She should know the biology of the first officer. That's his ganglia. Yeah. It's just a warning. I mean, these are like the little things that, like, it's nitpicking, but Star Trek fans are nothing if not detail oriented. And it's okay. And these guys too often, they're taking the easy way out. In other words, they're going for the laugh or the cute quip, which is great. We love those, but they're missing those really, those really detailed lines where, the Star Trek fans really appreciate it. They would prefer it if Dr. Pollard says, your ganglia is showing up, because we know she's the doctor.
Your ganglia is showing up.
She knows. She needs to know this stuff. Or like, the thing that we were talking about earlier with Tilly and Stamets both just coincidentally know the same lyrics to a song 250 years old. It's like these little things that they trust the audience. They don't have to go for the cute solution every time. They can go with something more realistic, something more technical, something more intelligent, and they won't lose the audience. That's right.
Well, they also were hinting at they were hinting about not using the Spore engines, right? They were saying there was a message there that he's trying to tell you not to use those engines, right?
They're reconciling canon with that, yeah.
Well, what is that about, though? Did they go into why that was the case, or did they just say that was the message?
It has to do with season 1, right? There was a law or something pushed down by
it has to do
that use it anymore.
Those engines can't be used without a living being. Like Stamets or the tardigrade or whatever has to physically connect to it.
Which is why the dark matter came in as a new means for the Spore drive. But we'll have to
along your same thing, Ryan, when you're talking about the intelligence of the viewer, the way they introduced not just Tig Notaro as Reno, but also Non, it's almost like they had to explain to the viewer who those people were and why they were standing there.
Yeah.
The Non one was like painful.
Even more so, yeah.
The Non one was painful because you got everybody sitting at a table and they just like turn and look and there she stands.
And I actually really like that new character. I think that one's I think she's great. I don't think she's gonna stick around very much.
Right.
Sadly.
Oh, Tig Notaro?
No. She may stick around very much. But the Barzin, the lady, she was in red in the first episode, and now she's.
Isn't she behind you?
Got like the breathing apparatus. Yeah,
she's right behind you. Yeah.
She's ticklish too. She's a little tickler.
He's so ticklish.
All right, guys. Enough screwing around. What did you love, Jared?
Wait, I didn't get to answer what I hated.
Yeah, you did.
No.
Okay,
you definitely criticized my hate.
No, I just joined in with what you guys...
just talked about my hate. That's all. Go ahead. What did you hate about it?
What did you hate?
I hated what Cirroc said. All right.
Thanks.
I truly hated the fact that I wasn't on this episode. That really was upsetting to me.
Besides
that, I'm with
what Ryan said.
But I'm with Ryan. I don't like when things take me out of the show. And when they did the Bowie song, that bugged me because I'm like, okay, you're referencing pop culture where you never have before. I don't really have a problem with doing things you never done before, but I had to ask Ryan, how long ago is that music from where Discovery is? And it's just so far. And I felt the fact that they never established any art, any kind of music at all prior, and just went right to David Bowie in space, And I'm just like, come on, guys. That's like right on the nose.
Yeah.
It was corny.
Yeah, and I don't like that. I didn't like that. I don't mind humor, like when in the episode before when Tilly ran the wrong way and then came back. So those things that take me out of that and go, that's what I dislike the most. I can have a suspension of disbelief in a lot of ways, but that kind of bugs me. The other thing that bugged me too is I didn't like Tilly, her voice changing to whatever the entity's voice was in her mind. that felt I felt those are the two things that really took me out of the show, because I'm like, I thought I was watching The Exorcist, and then it turned evil, or it had an ominous presence where it didn't in the one before. And I mentioned this in our regular show, where it solved a major problem and conflict in the show, or helped Tilly figure it out. And I'm like, so why aren't they doing it now? Now, why is it bad? And if all it took before was to be inside her, why is it now a physical manifestation that doesn't, well, I guess because they took it out. If they could take it out, why didn't it go back in the same way it was before? Maybe it can't, I don't know. That's a minor issue, but so that's the stuff. I don't want to be taken out of the world you're bringing me into.
Okay, that's twice now, Aaron, that you said it took me out of the show, and I was waiting for you to say, take me out to the holosuite. And I was kind of bummed.
I was going to say I was very upset Michael Chiklis wasn't in it, but...
oh, God. Oh, man. Another reference.
All right, go to the love. Go to the love.
Now let's talk about some love. So, Jared, what did you just lose your mind with love about this episode?
I would say performances, and that there were some really strong performances, because one of the things that really bothered me was when they cast Rebecca Romijn as number one. She's a very identifiable actress. When she came on the screen, I didn't see Rebecca Romijn. I saw number one.
Totally agree.
And that was amazing. And as far as performances, Doug Jones as Saru, that whole I'm dying, you have to shop, phenomenal. So if I loved anything about this show, it was performances from the cast. I can't wait to see more of number one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with that. My favorite part was Doug Jones and Michael doing their intimate scenes.
Shaniqua.
I thought that was Shaniqua. That's her name.
Yeah,
Shaniqua. She's like, she's so beautiful. She's so amazing. I think she just like really is the glue that holds all of the show together.
Yeah.
I think that she's the one that stands out to me, and that performance showed like a soft, really intimate side where they were doing some really good, deep emotional acting. I thought it was pretty good. I thought that was the highlight of the show.
You'll be happy to know that by all accounts, at least by all the accounts I've heard, Sonequa Martin Green is a wonderful human being in real life. Like, she's not just a great actor. Because I remember, when I first saw her, before the show even aired, before the first season, we started to see the interviews pop up. And she was just like so pleasant and radiant, and I'm so excited. And we can't help but think, is this real, or is she an actor? Is she pretending?
I don't know, but I think she's fantastic. I think the camera loves her. She delivers just consistently throughout the series. Yep. And I think she's the star of the show. I mean, in my eye, she's the star of the show.
That's interesting you would say that, because she is the lead of the show. And
she does have this top billing.
Yeah, she is.
Well, I mean, I'm not just talking about the name recognition of the top billing. I'm talking about like, she stands out. She's just really giving quality performance, and I hope that she gets a good career that develops afterwards, so that people recognize that she's fabulous.
You heard it here first. Sonequa Martin Green is the Aron Eisenberg of Discovery.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
The Aron Eisenberg.
And you know what? I'm sure she really honors that title that way. God, she probably came onto the show saying, if I could just be a smidgen as amazing as Aron Eisenberg was on Deep Space Nine, this show will really find its legs.
Yeah. I saw her at a convention one time. I forgot where it was, but she actually had an Aron Eisenberg. I love Aron Eisenberg shirt on, which was crazy. I should have got a picture of that. I should have got a picture.
Next time. She has about 5 of them. I think she has about 5 of them. Yeah.
Stop mailing them to her, please. Aaron, stop mailing those, please. It's harassment at this point.
So what I loved about the show is I loved when they sang the book. When they sang
again, we were about to move on without asking Aaron.
Well, I didn't go to Aaron.
Even though this show is all about you, we're not going to ask you what you think.
Yeah. So my love was the Bowie song. When they sang that was.
I thought you said you hated that.
I know, just making sure you're paying attention.
This guy.
I actually, you guys are spot on. The acting for both seasons has been phenomenal. I mean, my biggest disappointment right now is I really wish Prime Lorca would make an appearance, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to.
Not gonna happen.
That will be the clip at the end of the season, is him like turning his head and it being him.
I hope so. But what and you are the acting is phenomenal on the show. The production value is phenomenal on the show. I think that's kind of I don't think there's many people who would complain about that, if any. But I'm going to say something that really sparked my interest in this episode as well as the last one is the one or two lines that they keep throwing out in each episode that explain loopholes that people always complained about. And they don't throw it in your face. As a matter of fact, it always seems to happen at the very beginning in conversation that seems trivial or just setting up something later, and they throw it out, and if you weren't listening, you didn't catch it. And I love that cleverness or that subtlety. I'm really enjoying each time. So I really that really stood out to me in this episode, like because I didn't catch it until the second time I watched it, because I think Melissa was doing something and I couldn't pay attention. No, I'm just kidding. It had nothing to do with her. It was probably my own fault. So I love
stop throwing. Take responsibility.
What's that?
I could take responsibility, Aaron.
Okay.
Believe me, if you go in the Star Trek Discovery groups, there's no way you can miss it, because all it takes is one person to catch that little nugget, and then they're just enormous threads all about it where they say, they're doing all these, they're giving us these tiny little nuggets and people run with it, and they know we will, and that's the other side of it, is that they do that well. They give us a tiny little nugget because they
clearly they have a very rich understanding of the whole franchise. The guys know every episode. They reference very small things. They bring back alien races that have only made one or two appearances. They're all over the small things.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to tell you what I loved about this. What I loved about it of this specific episode was the expansion of the secondary and tertiary characters, like Lieutenant Non, like Linus the Sinus, the bridge characters. I get it. I love Saru the most in the whole world. We love Michael and Stamets and Tilly, but we love more characters. There are more characters. That's, like we said, that's what made Deep Space Nine so great. If they just stuck with the core 4 or 5 or 6, it would have been cool, but it wouldn't be what it ended up being.
Right.
That's the full potential. And every one of these characters has their own story, and a lot of them we're only getting a tiny bit of it unraveled bit by bit by bit, And I think that's really what I liked the most about this episode, was giving those characters more airtime. For those of us that want more characters, that want more Star Trek, that are like, who's that girl? What's her story? When's she coming back? We get to sink our teeth into her, figuratively.
Yeah.
A little bit more. Obviously, Saru's performance and story was, gold, but this is what made that episode stand out a little bit more differently than most other episodes, I'd say.
Right on. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Great. Well,
awesome.
Since we're going to be putting this publicly on YouTube, in the comments below, guys, please tell us what you loved and what you hated about episode 4 of season 2, or just what you love and hate about the show in general. But tell us what you love, tell us what you hate in the comments below, and don't hold any punches unless it's about us, because our feelings get hurt really easily.
Yeah, I'm very sensitive.
Specifically, Aaron.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for everything. Thanks for participating, and for all of you out there, thank you so much. and always remember the 7th rule.
All right.
Bye, guys.
All right, guys.